Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, welcome, I'm Ewan Spence. This is Retro Spectrum, the channel for retro gaming on the ZX Spectrum with a dash of 21st century as well. And today's review is both. It's actually all three, actually. It's retro, for sure. It's based off a 1982 game in the arcades. It is on the ZX Spectrum. We got the 128K ready to go. But it's also 21st century. After last week and Wet Club Up, I had a couple of titles lined up that I was thinking of doing. We'll probably get to them in the future. But there was a new release for the ZX Spectrum. I know. And, you know, there's still a big, strong homebrew scene. And one of the things I've been meaning to introduce in the next couple of months is, you know, looking at modern Spectrum games that have been still written for the 48K and the 128K machines. But one of them came out this week, and I have not been able to stop playing it. I have a high score table that is just full of my three letters, E, X, and S. And that is what we're going to look at today, because I really need to bring this to your attention and to say thank you to the guys and reward them and give them feedback and just let them enjoy everything that's going on. So I give you Mr. Do or Mr. Do or Mr. Do or I feel like going to do Mr. Do because of the exclamation mark. So I'll try and stick to Mr. Do as we're going through the review. That's going to might be a bit of an issue. Right, so yeah, this is based off the Universal Arcade game Cabinet that was out in the early 80s, one of the early arcade games, which is from about 1982. It's had a couple of conversions in its time. There's a lot of chat about the Super NES version that had been going out, and I think it popped up on something like the Neo Geo Pocket Colors. But I got to be honest, the actual Mr. Do is not something that I've really come across before. You know, you can see that it's similar to things like you've got lots of Dig Dug clones out there. You've got various Spectrum clones of similar games where you're running through and eating dirt and having to collect diamonds. Obviously, Repton is one example that you have that started off on the BBC. You've got Rockman from Mastertronic, which came out in the ZX Spectrum. I'm adding that to my list of things I want to go back and look at, because I remember going through those 60 levels when I was young. But after playing it, the one that kind of sprung to mind was Fast Food, which was the Dizzy game, which was you eat food and you walk around the maze. But these are all variants. Mr. Do is its own game. It has a very strong presence on the internet when you go look for it, certainly over in America. But it never had a Spectrum conversion in the 80s when it was in the mainstream. We just never made that jump. But it does now, because Adrian Singh has done all the coding with some music and sound. Graphic helps from Mark Jones, whose delightful screenshot for the loading screen you can see here, and the tape artwork that you can see up above. And he's got above and beyond, because you can actually print out an entire tape inlay and fold it into a normal audio cassette. That's on the Twitter channel. I'll link to that in the notes, which is great. This is a really solid game. It's been given away for free. I really wish there was a PayPal donate button so we could send over $1.99 just for old time's sake, because yes. And you know, there's so many questions and discussion points I want to bring up about this game. But first of all, you need to have a look at it. I think I've kind of whetted your appetite enough for that one. So we're just going to bring up the gameplay now. There we go. We've got flashing eyes, just a little bit of motion on that opening picture, which I like. And we're going to do a very quick run through as we go through here. Keyboard, Kempston, define keys, start game. Given that Kempston was one of the first joysticks that came out, one of the questions I'd love to think is, where do you position this? You know, where is it in the Spectrum sort of, where would you think this would have been agreed with? And yeah, we shall find out. Now, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, it's a pre-record. For those of you who are watching me do this live on Twitch, do leave your comments. And once I've finished recording the review, I'm going to answer all your comments. So MPDL, Manic Pixie, Dreamlurker, thanks for your support. Keep the comments coming in. I'll answer them when we've done the full review. But anyway, a run through. Yeah, there we go. So, it's dead easy. You eat all the cherries on a level, and you move on to the next level. it's as simple as that. You get chased by there's probably a posh name for them, but let's call them the baddies, and they move slightly faster than you. So they're like Blinky the Ghost in Pac-Man. They move faster. You get bonus points if you can eat all of the 8 mushrooms in one block. Mushrooms? Cherries. If you can eat all of them in one block, you get a little bonus 500 at the end. But you have to do it without stopping, so didn't manage it there. There we go. Bonus 500 points up. And the 5 letters that make up the word extra for extra life, if you can hit them, all 5 of them for multiple levels, you get an extra life. I have been playing this now for about 6 days. I've not got an extra life yet, but it does boost your score quite a bit, so that's fine there. The easiest way to describe this is if you've played Mr. Doe before, I am told from the various conversations on Reddit and the chat on Twitter that everything you would expect in the game is in here, and it is an almost pitch perfect conversion of the arcade game within the limits of the ZX Spectrum. And I'm going to be greedy and go for score here. But the monsters that come out of the letter were too close to me, so I'm game over. There we go. Okay, I only have one complaint really about the game, which is this. It's the high score table. It is the classic, you can input 3 letters. But if I input a letter wrong, I can't backspace. There's no delete to go back. So I traditionally put an X here. If I put a Y there, there isn't a sort of back arrow to go back. So if there is going to be a 101 release, we'd like a back key in the high score table. So let me just pause that for a second. Try not to get crushed by the cherries. Yes, in case you haven't noticed, the cherry stones fall down from the sky as well. So there's a bit of that sort of Repton feel as well. Now, I've also had this loaded up on the PlayStation Portable Fuse emulator. So this is my portable Spectrum, and you can see that from the high score table, I've managed to claim the entire high score table. This game is, in this implementation, thoroughly addictive. Here's the other thing I like about it. They've coded 2 versions, and there's the 48K and the 128K version, and like any good Spectrum game, it's on the same tape file. This is available as a download as a .tap. So that was the 128K game with all the background music that replicates the arcade and the extra sound. The question now for me is, when would you have had this released in the Spectrum? It's from 1982. You would have expected a release about 84, 85. And if that's the case, I would not have had a 128K machine, because I went from the 48K Spectrum to the Spectrum Plus, which was the 48K with a bigger heatsink, and then went to the Plus 2A. So I would not have played this on 128K. I would have played this on 48K. So let's just do a reset and get ourselves into 48K mode. Same file again, same loading screen, same little subtle flash on there. Remember to press Kempston this time and start game. And we don't have the in-game music. We don't have the extra code. We just have the good old classic Spectrum beep as you go through to eat the cherries. It's not the cherries that fall on you, it's the, I'm going to guess they're apples. And you can use them to crush your opponents. And once all of the edible eating monsters have popped out, the center square becomes a cake. I'll eat that. That puts you into, I'm guessing it's called night mode, and I'm gonna run into a baddie. It's quite tight on the controls, because once you've pressed it sort of go forward, it takes you half a step forward. So to get that tight corner turn like you saw there, you've got to be really precise on the controls. And to be fair, I remember Spectrum games that were like that. I refer you to something like Dizzy and Fast Food, where you had to kind of guess where in between the sort of half steps of the animation you put the next input into the control. So nearly managed that on that one there. And dead there as well. Mr. Do is also incredibly tough. This is one of those games we've talked about, the sort of difficulty levels that you get with games over previously in Shockwave Riders and the review we've done for Green Beret. And this is much more Green Beret. The difficulty curve is high. Now, let's make no doubt about that. It took me forever to get to like the third or the fourth level in this. And even now, I've only managed like level 6 a handful of times and level 7 just the once. So it is not an easy game. But there's always the feeling that you can do just a little bit more. There's always a feeling that you can go an extra step. You know, whether it's trying to get the extra lives, whether it's sacrificing one of those last cherry runs to get the bit of fruit in the middle, which does give you a nice big score, whether it's the hanging around just so you can get the controls wrong, run away, run away, run away, throw the little power ball and hope it hits something and gets me some space. Yes, oh no, it doesn't. So yeah, you've got a little mushroom ball thing that bounces around at a 45-degree angle like some crazed Arkanoid level. I'm not going to throw my initials in this one because this isn't on the PlayStation Portable, which is where I'm keeping my high score stuffs going in there. Things I do like, you don't need to press 0 to start another game if you selected the Kempston joystick. You can just press fire on your Kempston stick, never go near the keyboard. Not quite managing the turn on that one. You know that I'm going to blame the fact that I've got to keep talking and not focusing completely on this, on you guys out there to keep you entertained. So, yeah, please, can I get away with that one, sir? Yeah, there we go. Let's just grab that one through there. I'm glad that I don't have to put 10p in the slot every time to play this game, it has to be said, because it would have cost me a fortune over the last week. What I would say is, guys who have developed this have put it out as a freeware release. You can just download the file. I suspect that's also so they don't have to worry too much about money towards Universal, the original coders, and the legal fun and games that would be that one here. But if there was a PayPal or a donate button, I would be right in there trying to decide if I was going to go for the classic $1.99. Although my feeling is this is going to be a game that comes out about 1984-85 in the Spectrum. I've got the complete controls lost there as well. I get the feeling this would have come out in about 84-85, so you're probably looking at like a £4.95 title. So round it up to a fiver. And if I can't find a donate button, I'm going to find like a gamers charity or something out there and pay it through on that way as well. Look, I've had a quick look on YouTube at the footage of the actual Mr. Do arcade game to see how close it is. Now, that arcade game, of course, it had the screen was orientated in the 3:4 ratio, so it's a TV screen turned on its side. So it was a slightly different ratio, so it is compromised slightly on that bit. But other than that, the level design has been lifted over. The techniques have been lifted over. It looks like the sort of relative speeds and the AI have been passed over as well. And I also know from Twitter that the team that have been coding this, specifically Adrian Singh with a bit of graphical help from Mark Jones, they've been working on this for 18 months. As a hobby, on and off things. How long it would have taken back in the Spectrum days, I don't know. And also, I don't know if you would have been able to code this in somewhere like 1984-85, because a lot of the techniques that are used here, I wonder if they're using sort of programming techniques that were done in the sort of 87-88 on the Spectrum of gathers over in the future. But at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. What we've got here is something that will run on original Spectrum hardware. It doesn't take cheats. It's not a PC executable file that's made to look like a Spectrum. It is an actual genuine Spectrum game. You can stick this onto a C90 cassette. You can load that into your Spectrum. You can put it on a micro SD card. Some people have built interfaces that allow you to put an SD card through the edge connector on the Spectrum. This is a Spectrum game. The fact that it's 2019 and it's released and you haven't got down to the shops and bought it in cassette, that's immaterial. I it even took me a while to realise that the level design, apart from the first level 2 is actually the number 2. Level 3 is number 3. This is level 4. So you can see that it started off with a 4, and level 5 and level 6 does that. Level 7 does it as well. Level 8, I've no idea. I've never ever got that far into the game. Look, I will put the link in the notes on Twitch and on YouTube. If you've got yourself a Spectrum, download this. This is great. I have lost so much time to this in terms of free time. I've not been doing any of the train sim or any of the other big games that I normally sit and play on a PC. I have been stuck playing a brand new Spectrum game for the last week. Mr. Do, whatever you want to call it, is a fabulous piece of work. I hope the team behind it go out and do some more Spectruming, and if they were to come and do some of their own IP and put it up for sale, I am right there with the PayPal account and whatever. Mr. Do, from 2019, recommended, highly recommended, even higher than highly recommended. It's a crash smash. It's a YS mega game. It's whatever Sinclair user had, because nobody cares about Sinclair user anymore. It's Mr. Do. I absolutely love it. Go find it yourself. Enjoy it. It's great. Guys, well done.